Transition between UCAS applicant to enrollee is a long and nerve-wracking path, and preparing for a media and or communications degree is no different. Like, I remember sitting at home the days after I got my offer and like feeling that weight of imposter syndrome like sitting on me, and it just like set in, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm underprepared. How on earth can little old me, who's never studied media before formally, or cultural studies formally, like fit in with like these minds that have been like battle hardened by the rigors of media theory or cultural studies. So basically, I had two options. I could cry about it, or I could go out and do something about it. And I chose option two. And I strapped up. I went in and looked for books that I could, arm myself with, so I can go in on day one and just attack the courses as best as I could. So the thing with media and communication is that it's not as obvious as the words that tell you what you're going to be studying appear. Because when you break it down, when you break down different mediums, when you look at things like the book, the printing press, trading cards, the internet, cell towers, mobile phones, I think I said the internet already, but the internet, film, gaming, they're all technologies or exploration of technologies. And communication, well, it takes two to communicate. I can't just communicate to myself. Right now I'm sending you a video over the internet, and the words are coming out of my mouth and they're going into your ear holes and your brain's processing them, and we're having a one-way conversation, but it's a conversation nonetheless. And as such, I'm dealing with people here. I'm trying to deal or present my information in a way that is appealing to you enough that you're going to sit through the rest of this video, or at least take in what I'm trying to say. So yes, you're dealing with media and communications, but really also you're dealing with the analysis and learning of technology and cultures and cultural study. So if you listen to this list and you kind of disagree with what's in it, one thing I would suggest to you very strongly is that you go out and look for books on technology and cultural studies, as well as media and communications. And if you're feeling particularly risky, I would even suggest looking at marketing, because things like the communications model and audience segmentation or market segmentation or audience segmentation, they transfer quite quickly, and you might find yourself doing them in the first year or covering them in the first term or semester. So without further ado, I think I've rambled on enough. Let's actually get into this list. So book 1, 50 Ideas You Really Need to Know, Philosophy by Ben Dupree. Philosophy. I'm here to study media, okay? I didn't come here to be a priest. But hear me out. This book is not one that you need to read end to end. I think most of the books in this list you don't need to read end to end. And instead, I think that there are some very interesting chapters in here that you can transfer into your media or cultural studies understanding. And it definitely warms you up to topics such as doublespeak, debates on high and low culture, game theory is another one, as well as other theoretical tidbits. However, what is far more important with a book like this is that it's about your understanding of ethics. Once you understand that a large part of your degree is about research or dealing with people, managing projects, having at least a basic understanding of ethics is very helpful. On the cultural side, having a more theoretical understanding of why people believe what they believe is also helpful, especially when it's time to come to empathize with people. If you have to take on tasks dealing with things like ethnography or survey analysis or even online activism. So understanding what people do and why and how you deal with them and the ethics around that is very important. Book number 2, The Penguin Dictionary of Clichés by Julia Cresswell. Now this might open a can of worms, but I need to spill the beans on this little nugget. Now this book of clichés is more of a reflective piece. It's one that should hopefully make you aware of what you're saying and why, because words mean things. If we deal with words, we deal with languages, and languages are a reflection of more than just the language or where we're from or what we speak and why. It's also a reflection of a culture, and having a better understanding of your own culture is key to relating to other cultures, really. This next book is called Dictionary of Media Studies by Nicholas Abercrombie and Brian Longhurst. I must call him Lion Longhurst. So a dictionary is great because it can be used in a myriad of ways, from discovering new theorists to getting a quick guide of a theory you can't quite remember, to figuring out acronyms that have just been thrown at you. A dictionary is something that can help you prepare going into uni, and then that transition of being a newbie to I'm kind of getting the hang of the subject here. It's a fantastic index to be able to refer to. In fact, I've even used it during assignments when there was something I think exists but I can't quite put my finger on it, referring back to a dictionary and finding that keyword or key phrase and reminding myself what it is very, very, very helpful when you're looking at something that's just outside the remit of what you've already learned, but it's relevant to your assignment, for example, your essay or your video, your piece of information. So a dictionary is fantastic, and I'd highly recommend getting one. So this AS and A2 Media Studies revision book. Now, I could have placed this earlier on the list because it's actually so obvious. I mean, if you're watching this video like me and you sat there wondering, am I going to be in the right place? I feel like an imposter. Going back and learning what your peers have learned is key. Because let's face it, if I felt imposter syndrome because I knew that media studies is so popular with foundation year students, which means that there were people going into the first year like I was who had at least 1 year of understanding going into the course. If you go further back and if they've done AS and A2 and then foundation, that's 3 years of experience. If they've done GCSE, then AS, A2 and then a foundation, that's 5 years of experience already. So knowing what they did most recently, I'd say, is very key, and getting your hands on a national or nationwide or nationally recognised. I think this one even covered IGCSE. So when I was talking about European standard, the European standard of media studies at the level below is key. Many degrees go in and treat everyone as if they've never done media studies before. However, they might not treat you like brand new people to the course, and there's going to be some expectation that you know something about media studies. So I'd strongly recommend getting an AS/A2 book, especially if you're not too sure on what you're going to be doing. This next book, 50 Concepts to Gender Studies by Jane Pilcher and Imelda Whelan, is another book that makes me think of when I talk about dictionaries. Now, this little guide to media studies is basically a more specialised dictionary, if I'm brutally honest. And what's great about this book is that no matter what your level of critical engagement is with gender theory, no matter what your opinion is on something like feminism, gender is a core pillar of many a community, many a society, and many culture. And it's actually through this understanding of gender that you can understand things like hegemony and power structures, cultural theory, social control, concepts of the other, labour divisions, quality of work, class, and even queer theory. And what surprised me about this book is its usefulness, in which might be an indictment of my own ignorance here. But I really found myself referring to it when I found myself stuck on things like quantification culture or participatory culture and even standardization, which is interesting because on the face of it, these are things that have nothing to do with gender. Once you have a better understanding of cultural studies and a wider array of knowledge at your disposal, being able to refer in and out of things when you talk about, again, power structures, if you can put it within the scope of gender and gender studies, you then have an entire array of theorists at your disposal when it comes to do your assignment. We're going to move into something that you might actually come across in your first semester, and that is narrative theory. So this book, Beginning Theory, An Introduction to Literary Theory and Cultural Theory by Peter Barry, is a fantastic book. Because for me, I didn't know what narrative theory or narrative analysis entailed, but whenever I came across it, I was completely stumped and I struggled to grasp when I started to teach myself. Now, thankfully, narrative studies is a core tenet of literary theory. So I picked up this book hoping that I could find my way in the subject, at least get some understanding so that I can then take it to the next level. So I picked up this book, and what was great about it is that it actually is close to the level of reading difficulty that you will be coming up against in your first year. And in fact, in the introduction, the book is almost explicitly aimed at first year and pre-first year university students. As such, it's going to take you through some topics like psychoanalysis, postmodernism, Marxist critique, stylistics, and even the theory after the theory. So what is the future of narrative discourse and narrative analysis? And it goes into a level of depth that gives you, again, a contextual understanding of your future required and supplemental readings. And in fact, I've even used it as a direct citation when I found myself lacking a source on an assignment I had on narrative discourse. So let's move into our last book now. And this book, if I was ever going to make a required reading list, this book would be on it. If I had to do one video about any book in this entire list that I've made, it'd be about this book. Because this book is my golden child. It can do no wrong. If it was my baby and I had to go to a parents' evening and the parent and the teacher told me that this book was being naughty, I'd put my fingers in my ears and go, la 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 la, it's not happening. And in fact, I'll even go and report that teacher to Ofsted, because this book, Dan Lange, thank you very much. This is the book that made me realise I was in the right place. It's the book that made me fall in love with the subject. It's the book I read before I even made my application. This book is absolutely fantastic, and I cannot give it high enough praise. It goes through quite a few subjects. I think you can't see it on the camera, so I'll just read it out to you. So it goes through the basis of why media studies even matters in the first place. It talks about how messages are conveyed. It then goes over theories such as media effects, consumer power, political economy, representation, postmodernism, information and surveillance society, moral panics, very important, celebrity and fandom. Again, one of the most fascinating subjects is talking about fandoms, because you learn about participatory culture, which I spoke about earlier, and how you can have parasocial relationships and why stan culture exists. They're very fascinating, and if I could go into I might even make a whole video on fan culture, and have to cut it there because again it's a subject that you can go into hours and hours and hours about. What else is here? Narrative and genre. Again, narrative theory, which we just spoke about. There's also new media here, and it also has some fantastic material. So new media, again, like talking about the Web 2.0, digital, how music's being transferred digitally. What else is in here? Some juicy remediation as well. Absolutely fantastic. I've read this book so many times. If there was one book I said you have to read back to cover to cover, it'd be this one. I've done that. I've gone through that book in several different ways. I've done it where I've done like one topic a day, and I've just like read it, like the 2 pages or whatever it is, or the page and bit, and I just like let it sit on it, and just digest, and just digest the information. Sometimes I just get kind of carried away, and I've read like whole sections, and I'm just like, wow, there's so much to learn here. Another fantastic book. I've used it like a dictionary again. So that's my list. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see any more books or go into depth about any of the books in this series, please leave a comment. If you have some suggestions and you're already a media and communication student or a media and cultural studies student and you thought I missed something out, throw it in there. Help some people out. Also, if you want me to, again, go into more detail about any of the books, say so in the comments. And thank you very much for watching. I hope you do fantastic in your studies, and I shall see you all again soon. Goodbye.